Good evening, viewers. I hope you are all safe and secure in this unprecedented time. So, we are back here with our fourth show from Vogish Production. So, you must be aware that Vogish aims to work on different segments of art, culture, and entertainments that include cinema, theater, music, and advertising. Mainly under the cinema category, I mean, Bogish is focused for doing film production, film education, and of course, interacting with different filmmakers and film technicians. So, on today's show, we are just going to interact with one such filmmaker. He's a very famous filmmaker nowadays, named as Arindam Bhattacharya. So please join me welcoming Arindam Bhattacharya to this show.
Hello, everybody. Hi.
Hello, Arindam. How are you?
Yeah, fine, Nilay. So after a long time, so glad to be here as part of you guys. Are doing a great job. I have seen some of your episodes previously, so that went really good. So thanks for all. Yeah.
Yeah, and we are really pleasured to have you with us, uh, for this show today. So before we start our today's interview, so there is a short message from Aninda Sundar Ghosh, the founder of Vogish Production. So let's play out that message first.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the fourth live of Vogish. We are in conversation with filmmaker Arindam Bhattacharya. I want to thank each one of you for being live with us today. And I also want to thank all of you who would watch the program on our YouTube, Facebook, and Periscope channel later. Arindam Bhattacharya, a creative storyteller. We would explore his journey from corporate life to silver screen through this discussion. So if you share the same dream, then ask those relevant questions which will help you to take your dreams forward. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the discussion. Hashtag Vogish Culture. Thank you.
Thank you, Aninda. So definitely, I would just request the audience. You are free to just throughout the discussion whenever we'll be talking with Arindam. So you can feel free to post your comments. You can ask your questions, the relevant questions, of course, and definitely we'll go through all your questions during our discussion today. So first, I mean, Arindam. We would definitely like to know, I mean, being an audience, so what exactly inspired you to get into the film direction? That too, after spending so many years with corporate world.
See, basically, from the very childhood, I'd like to say, right from the teenage time, I was very fond of a cinema, the concept of cinema. So the big screen magic, the watching films rather than, in a theater rather than on television. Television was a part of our life also previously, but watching films on cinema theater on a big screen is really, something different to me, was something different to me. And I never thought of becoming a film director. So after I qualified my CA in 1997, and then I started working for certain corporates and went through, this corporate world for last 22 years. Then suddenly I felt that it must have happened to you also or to other people also that okay, this corporate life is something very monotonous. Okay,
Absolutely.
I don't want to comment on that further. So, but it came to me that, okay, why don't I do something very interesting which is very close to my heart? So why not a cinema? So it is something. It came to me something like that. And at one point of time in 2015 or 2014 rather, so I used to travel a lot for my profession, even for vacation and all that. And nearby Delhi, there are a lot of places to visit. Okay, we used to drive cars, long hours and all that. We used to go everywhere. So you can say I was a not was, but in fact I am an avid traveler. So traveling was also another passion. So while going through all these cities or small town areas nearby Delhi, so I found one of the towns very interesting, which is in Himachal, which is Kasauli,
Right.
and I found this town quite interesting, something ghostly, and it's a beautiful small town. It's like a British architecture is there. So why don't the Bengali films, or rather than films, capture this kind of environment? Why not? Okay, so it comes, and I am also an avid reader of thriller and mysteries and ghost stories, something like that. So I really love them. So I say, okay, why can't I make a detective story around this small town? It came to my mind just in
Right.
2014. Okay, it's out of fun. It is not something very serious at that point of time. So then I started writing a script on my own, and I was a very big fan follower of Satyajit Ray and Steven Spielberg and all that. So I thought, why can't I make a script? Then I go on through the went through the script writing procedures, how to write a script, and take some examples from the Google, and try to learn the process, how to write a story in a script format. So I started like this. I was working, very much working at that point of time, and I had to travel a lot during that period of time outside India. And while traveling on flights or staying in hotels over the weekends, I used to write the story, and that Kasoli town was in my mind. So the story was totally centered around that particular town. So in this way, I prepared the script. I took almost like 1.5 years, like 18 months to complete the script, because I am not an usual script writer. It takes time for me. Okay, and I showed it to my some friends or relatives, my wives, and all that, and they say, "Okay, this is a very good story. You can make it." Okay, when the story came up, and after that, my mom was alive at that point of time. She expired in 2014. And before that, she said, "Yeah, you can go ahead." So that should be a fun. So it's inspired me more. So don't ever think. The first lesson is that for everyone who wants to make film, don't step back. Once you think that, okay, you can do that or you can make a film, it is not something very big job. You can write a story, you can write a script, but you should know the process. That's all. Okay, storytelling is most important. So I prepared that story and the script, and finally went for filmmaking in the year 2015 or 16. And then that's a different story. How I left my job in 2017 and jumped onto this field. That's a different story altogether. But this is how the whole the picture of filmmaking came into my life. So that started with a fun, with a place, with a town called Kasoli, and then slowly I started building up on that. So that's how I came into filmmaking. Yeah.
That's great. I mean, it's really. I mean, I definitely I can assume like all the aspirant filmmakers, they will definitely get inspired with your notes, like the way, I mean, how you just simply driven by with your passions, like, and just by seeing a particular location, and hopefully just after seeing Kasoli, we have seen the excellent, the production of Antarlin. So
Right.
with that note, actually, one thing again coming in my mind. So uh, it's definitely not an easy call, just to leave your stable career out, apart, and just go for a full time filmmaking. And and very usual, I mean, it's a very usual, phenomenon that one should get a lot of anxieties in mind, just thinking about that uncertain future. So how you actually, tackled such situations? Because did you ever get any kind of, anxieties or anxiousness about an uncertain future while you take the final decision for going for full movie making or filmmaking rather? And if you had any such, experiences, so how did you overcome all those thoughts of, uncertainties? So I think that would also help our new film aspirants, like who are just trying to come into this industry in future.
Right. So it depends on person to person, but the most basic thing is the degree of passion, how passionate you are in that particular job. Okay, I was passionate about films, and when I said, okay, 20 साल हो गया चलो, 20 years I have spent in the corporate life, I will make film, whatever happens. So this kind of attitude or this kind of passion should be there. First of all, the first thing. I will come to the security part later on. So this passion should be there. That is number one. Okay. And secondly, the most important is that you have to understand. See, I had an advantage over the others. Number one, I had worked in the corporate for 20 years. I can always go back to the corporate life, and I can try
True.
out. Okay, fine. चलो ये हुआ नहीं तो let's
Something
go
else.
back to this. Yeah, that part is there. That is fine. But once you leave the job, you are cut off from a monthly salary at the end of the month, and what will happen to the next month? This situation. Okay. So
Correct.
for that, I will come to that solution later on. But for me, it was not a very big deal because I had a great support from my wife. My wife was working at that point of time, and she's still working. Obviously, she's supporting the family. And one side of the family should support financially. Otherwise, you cannot jump into that pond and, without knowing
True.
anything. So you have to be
True.
very cautious that there will be a steady income on one hand, and then you can go for the passion in our country. It is not like US that you are getting a very good salary from a filmmaking. No, you will not get it. So it is important that we just see your steps, or you can build up your corpus for a very long time, maybe for 5 to 6 years, and say, okay, I can sustain for 10 long months or 12 months, because the money will flow after 1 year, not immediately. Okay, because once you start getting more work, more jobs, then obviously you can sustain. But for that 10 to 12 months is a big hardship for a family when you don't have any other supporting income. So that was there for me, number one. Secondly, I was confident, and I was working till the film was completed and released, and I was thinking whether to leave the job or not. That's a different story, because at that I didn't dare to leave the job immediately. And what happened when I got the Filmfare Award in 2017? It gave me another boost. Okay, chalo, leave it. Okay, boss सोच लिया है, I have thought enough of it, no more, please jump into the, because I was awarded, I got a reward, and I know that, okay, boss, I make this film and I got this award, in future I will get more. So my situation is here. So that inspired me to do that job. But practically speaking, for any normal citizen or a normal person, it is important to assess their own situation, their own financial situation, the backup income, the corpus they have, and if they have a supporting for the family. Just consider that first, and then jump. Don't jump radically, so that later something wrong will happen and you have to go back to your old profession. So you have to take the risk. After that, also you have to take the risk, because for a long 1 year or 2 years you will not have any steady income. So that
True.
has to be kept in mind. But if you have the passion, that it is only that much of time, like 8 to 10 months, you have to suffer. But if you have the passion and you really work well in that area, so I think there will be no problem thereafter. Like business, and business won't happen. There are a lot of people in Gurgaon right now who are my friends, who are leaving their jobs, particularly in this pandemic situation, and doing something else like business or consulting or whatever, they are jumping into this area, taking the risk because they know that for the next 7 to 8 months, I don't have any steady income. I have to build a corp. So planning is very important for this situation. So once you make a proper plan for yourself, make up a backup income for at least for 10 to 12 months, you can definitely do that. So I don't think nothing is impossible without planning. So planning makes everything. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I totally agree with you on this. So planning has to be there for sure.
Yeah, you cannot jump in one day and say, "Boss, मैं चला, let me go," and you cannot do that. Obviously, you need to have that plan. Yeah.
Right. So by this time, I'm not sure exactly if we have received any audience questions. So let's check in case if we have any from our viewer side. Yes. So I could see there is one question from Abir Sengupta, and he's asking, describe how would you ensure that production is on schedule?
Okay,
So
very good question, very technical question. And production schedule, you have to plan accordingly. The most critical thing is that you yourself has to be very, uh, organized. Okay, never depend on the industry people because see, I don't want to blame on the industry because our industry is a very old industry, and when I jumped into this industry to work for a production, I found that everything is very unorganized. Even for the
mhm,
schedule, even for people doesn't know what is the deadline, what is the timeline for each and every job. So that matrix you have to draw. While working in a corporate, you learn a lot of strategies in meeting the deadlines, milestones, how to draft a dashboard, and etc. etc. So in a particular film industry, it is very important that when you schedule a project, you can fix a timeline like what would be the pre-production stage, what is the production stage, and what is the post-production schedule, and you have to monitor yourself, and nobody else will monitor for you, not even the production manager, not even the executive producer, nobody will do that. You have to do that. So that is the most important thing, and that's why learning the production is very, very important. How the production happens, how it starts from the pre-production, how it starts from scripting, from registration to casting to location hunting, Reiki, everything. So that has to be very well planned, well planned, and you have to monitor yourself all those timelines. You cannot put one person like a business. The owner of the business know how pain it is to run a business in a proper way. He may assign a lot of managers, but the managers will do half a job, not like the owners. So you are the owner of this production. You should know how to monitor this timeline, keep it on schedule, and how you have to drive the team. So that's the importance of a production. And scheduling is very important. The production schedule should be maintained in a very in a timed way so that the cost is also involved because the more it is delayed, the cost goes up. So you are working on a fixed budget, like let's say for 20 lakhs or 30 lakhs or 70 lakhs, whatever, maybe the budget. The schedule, if you miss the schedule, the cost will go up. Okay,
absolutely,
so that's important. The planning is important, monitoring is important. You have to monitor in your own way.
absolutely.
Very
I think we have another questions coming from Bodhisatta Sarkar. He's asking which is the most difficult part of filmmaking. I think a very good question.
Very good question, and thanks, Bodhisattva, for this question. It's a wonderful question, and I will tell you the most difficult part is the script writing because the entire film is dependent on the script writing. Spend 6 months, 1 year, 1.5 year on the script. The entire production and the post production can be finished in 1 and 1.5 months or 2 months. That's fine. But script is important. You have to spend at least 6 months to 1 year on a good script because the Hollywood directors who are preparing the movies, they take about 70% of their time on the script. In India, I should not say India. I don't know that much of Bollywood movies. In West Bengal, I know in Bengali cinema, 70% of the time is on the production and other things. 10% of the time is the script. I don't want to comment on the result anyway. Thank you.
uh, no, that's really the fact is. I think I do have one more question from Boomba Bose. And he is asking, do you think that any sort of technical trainings like script writing, direction, etc., from a good institute are absolutely required for being a good filmmaker? I mean, he is
Very good.
asking for formal training of filmmaking. Is it really required?
See, Boomba's question is very good in the sense that it's a basic question that should be asked before coming to the filmmaking. No, my answer is no. Why no? Because the film institute or the institutes will drive you in a very structured way, and for making a film, you have to think out of the box. They will confine you to a particular methodology. For example, camera angles, for example, editing, for example, all other areas. They will define all the steps. Okay, you have to do this, and this. And while sitting on the camera, that will bug you continuously. And you cannot think of any other angle. That is the problem. Okay. So you can never think you are thinking of maybe this angle or that angle. You may not think of a top angle because your vision is not like that.
Right.
So we are not Satyajit Ray. Okay, remember one thing. Okay, and again, I can say it is more important to see good films. You see hundred of films that work 100 times better than going to a film institute. That's more important for me because
Great answer.
technicalities are something that you can always learn on the field because you are coming from corporate or maybe you are coming from some other background. Technicality is some other job that you can always learn on the floor. That's not a big deal. I can tell you a small story if you permit me, Niloy.
Sure, sure.
Uh,
Please.
I went to a very famous filmmaker in Bengal, Tarun Majumdar,
Hmm.
long time back into 2015. When I was thinking of making a film, I suddenly met him in a studio. I went there for some other work. So I asked Tarun Babu and I met him for the first time. The, Sir, just give me one tips for making a good film. He said that there is only one tip. I said, how come? Because I asked one of them. He said there is only one tip. Okay. Tell the story perfectly. Just tell the story perfectly. That's the main thing of a filmmaking. Okay. Nothing is required. So that was my experience. Okay.
That's really a great. Yeah, I mean, ideally, the storytelling has to be absolutely right. Then only, I mean, the viewers and audience will get the the entire, the substance of the movie. Otherwise, definitely, it's not possible. Very good answer.
Right.
Another quick thing, Arindam, which is again coming in my mind because we are just also talking about some technicalities. I think we had one question from Abir. He was asking about how to be on schedule. But definitely, as and you have also answered, like if we are not in schedule, there is a high chance that we can actually, uh, go short of budget because the expenses will go up. Uh,
Right.
so one question which is also very common for I would say for all the newcomers or I think as new directors on that note, uh, because getting a producer for the very first film is not really very easy. We know it's quite challenging, and for all such newcomers who are maybe having some very good story with them, and they're really very passionate about go for a new filmmaking, but just due to unavailability of producers or not of ease of that I mean that particular option, so they are always taking a step back. So based on your experience, how would you like to guide all our viewers, uh, how they can just get a particular producer, or maybe how you experienced while you first started with your first movie on Torlin? So I think you might have also gone through the similar phases. So
Yeah, definitely. And it was, I should say, 2014-15 was some of my nightmares I had during that period, getting a right producer. So finally, what happened? I had to produce myself with my own whatever I had in my hand, taking help of the friends. A lot of friends helped me. My family helped me. My sister helped me. There was a lot of help from all the corners, and I was able to complete the film in a very short budget. Short budget is even, it's a big budget if you consider today's film. But one thing I'd like to say that if the story is good, if and I've seen the producer. The problem with the Bengali producers are, I'm seen from my angle. The problem with these producers are they never look for new talents. They say, okay, those things have been a hit, so I'll go for those directors and I will continue to make for whole of my life. It is
Right.
something like a very safe bet. So why, if I go like that, why should how will you bring up the new talent? That's a problem. Okay, there are a lot of people, but I should ask everybody not to take it negatively. This will happen. This has happened for all the industries, even for Bollywood, even for Hollywood. There are a lot of scripts lying out there, but if you are confident about your own script, about your own story, just work on that. For example, I can quote you like Anurag Kashyap. Anurag
Mhm.
never had this opportunity for long, long years until he came up on a platform and tried to display his product. It happened to everybody. For me, I was lucky because I'm lucky because I had some kind of support within my family. With that family, I did some, a lot of things have to be manipulated just to get the work done. But that is not a fortune with everybody, right?
True.
So that is the important. So then think of those directors who are now the good directors of Bollywood or something. They never had this opportunity right at the beginning. Everybody was that in a particular stage you are thinking of right now. Everybody was there. So what is the trick? The trick is a good script and working with a good director. If your script is different from the others, and you are working with a good house maybe for the newcomers. For example, I'm not talking about the people who are coming from corporates or something, but people who are not, who has the ability to devote some time with the directors. I should say you guys should work with a noted production house or maybe a good production house, at least for a film or so. You get to know in and outs of the filmmaking, number one. And the advantage will be on your side because in that case, you will be able to make a good budget on yourself. A film budget of, let's say, 40 lakhs may come down to 25 lakhs or 20 lakhs, depending on your experience, right? Now you can think of the budget. If you go to a person and say, boss, I am the first time filmmaker, I have a story, give me 80 lakhs. It will never happen. Okay.
Right.
So the important part is you have to, the script has to be good. Again, I can go back to my previous word that, the script has to be excellent. Even if you read out to your friends or relatives, it is important because your real success lies there in that excellence of the script. And if the script is excellent, and I can tell you, one or two production house can reject, the third one cannot reject. They will see and they will definitely go through that. And you have to try very hard, you have to maintain contacts with everybody and let it how it flows. But it's important that you work with them personally as well, because it never happened overnight that I made a script today, tomorrow I just call up a director I know or maybe get their numbers and say, boss, I want to make a film. It never happened. Okay, so important is this process is very slow, gradual, take some time, have a good script, make contacts, and register your script. That is most important because once you register your script, nobody can steal your story. Okay, and go to the production houses, approach the production houses, or try to bring it down to that level of a budget that you can also afford to make a film on your own. Secondly, I should say, try out, which I tried out in 2009-10. I also made some small short story movie. Pick up some short stories on your own.
Mhm.
Take a camera, even your phone camera is there. Go out, shoot, take your relatives, just edit it. Edit is also very simple to do if you have a proper software download. Okay, it is very important. You can apply the stock music and you can create a very good film on your own. So that process, that can be a starting point. After that, you can, you can go to a production house or you can create a script and then you can start working on that. Okay, so that is a long process. So try to follow that. Yeah.
Okay. Really very helpful for us. Thank you very much. So now probably I would just like to, ask something about your journey of filmmaking, specifically on all the films that you have made. So it's also quite usual. Like once you are just doing your very first movie, you should get a lot of learnings. I mean,
Right.
maybe which is not which is unforeseen stuff, like you will get into a lot of other new things from which you will learn, and at a later stage those learnings will help just to make something better on your next films. So from Ontorlil, like if you had any such learnings that you want to share with the audience, which later which in later stage helped you in giving some better outputs maybe for other movies which you made.
Yeah,
Any
learning is,
experience?
yeah, because learning is something, that is endless. Okay,
Absolutely.
I mean, there are learning in every stage, every minute, every hour. So when I first went on the floor in Antalin, in the film, in the town of Kasoli, the first mistake, I'm talking about mistakes.
Absolutely.
Okay,
That is how we want to take it as learnings.
right. The mistake was, I scattered the whole film into a lot of areas. You have to consolidate. You have to make it because the budget will go up if you scattered your location all across. Okay, and that causes more, the delays in shooting. Because transit from one place to another takes a lot of time. So you have to calculate that at the time of planning. So that planning was not done properly at that point of time.
Hmm.
So location hunting and recce, you do a recce of a film or the location hunting 3 times, 4 times. Don't focus on that. That will reduce your cost. You can plan it better. Okay, because the location has to be in such a way that you finish location for 3 to 4 days, move to another location 3 to 4 days, something like that. So that helped me a lot. At the later stage. Secondly, I would like to say that um, maybe from some of the scenes, because we directors have the tendency when we shoot a particular scene or a shot, then we have a tendency to take it from some other angle. Okay, we have a
Yep.
tendency to make it in a different way, a little different. अच्छा थोड़ा different हो सकता है, चलो let's make
Mm.
it. You have to stop that. Never do that. You do at a planning stage, at a script writing, at a time of storyboarding. You do that. Okay, never do it on the floor. Okay, because it's a wastage of time, wastage of energy. Ultimately, one thing will come up on the screen. Okay, there will not be 5 things. So in Antardhan, which was again shot in Himachal and yet to be released, my third film, and in Antardhan, I found it is appropriately done because when I did the script writing, I did it in such a planned way. We took the shot and just move on. We took the shot and move on. And it saved a lot of the time because instead
Exactly.
of 14-day schedule, we completed in 11 and a half days. Okay. So a per day cost of a film is something around 3 lakhs. Okay,
Right.
production cost.
Right.
Okay, that was saved over there. So whatever storyboarding or the scripting you do it, focus on that, before the completion of a film. Do it appropriately so that in on the field don't get confused the what to do. Okay. So that is another mistake or maybe another learning I should rather say.
Hmm.
And second and thirdly, for newcomers, it is important to give rehearsals because what happened typically we had a lot of newcomers in Antalin, and luckily it was good. We didn't spend that much of time, which didn't happen for my next film, which was Flat Number 609, which was my next film. and I have a lot of problems with the newcomers because it is expected that when you take a newcomer, he may or may not perform that much, up to the standard, along with the other co-stars who are really experienced actors. Maybe they are also irritated that okay, why this guy is taking so much of time. So it is important when you work with a newcomer, and I can say most of you who are watching, maybe thinking of making a film with a newcomer, please be careful, rehearse them a lot of times, and make them rehearse before the shoot. It is very important, and that will save your time as well. So that is important. And some of the times I found some newcomers are really good. I didn't need that. So that's a separate story. So that was another learning. And yeah, so that much I can remember right now. Maybe there are a lot which is there at the
Yeah.
back of the mind.
No, no, definitely these are really very helpful information, and I am pretty sure this is going to help our audience a lot.
Oh,
So I think we have few more questions coming in from the audience side of it. So let's quickly check. I think another question from Abir, and he is asking, what are some of the biggest challenges within the department currently, and how you overcome those? So,
when you talk about this department, there are a lot of departments. Any particular department you are talking about, or it is something like uh, because see, in the department, I can say even if in the field of direction, this is very important. The biggest challenge is to bring all the departments in the same tune, that everybody can work in tune, because everybody should know the story. So when we start a film, it is very important we tell the story to everybody in a very detailed way. So right there, the costume designer, the makeup man, the production manager, the assistant directors, or the cameraman, they are all in rhythm. They know what is going to happen tomorrow, and we always used to have the late night schedule, reading session and all that after every shoot. The reason being to make ourselves prepare for the next morning. And these challenges are, people think differently. Okay, you have to make them thought in your own thought process. So you have to bring them in your own thought process. So that is very important. The directors or the producers coordination at that point of time, that what is expected tomorrow, what is going to happen tomorrow, and how the scenes are going to tomorrow, so that there should not be any different thoughts. Okay, everybody should be aligned with my thoughts. So that is the biggest
correct.
challenge. Yeah.
Exactly. So I think again we have another question from Biplab Kundu, and he is asking which is more effective perspective while making a movie, a storyteller's perspective or viewer's perspective? So the question is more about in terms of perspective. What should we give more preference to?
A very, very unusual question and a good question. Why good question and unusual question? Never ever people or the directors think about the viewer's standpoint. It is a very good question. Okay, a good film can only happen. Storytelling is good, should be good. Everybody knows that how will tell my story, but how the viewers will like it, that is very
Hmm.
important. Because the problem with most of the modern day films which happen, I have seen, and I'm saying from practical experience, when a person writes a story and make a script, he never get them judged by others. That is the biggest mistake. You have to read it to a lot of audiences. Even I remember Antolin story I told my mom first and say how was the story. My mom was 2014. She was at the age of 69 or 70, and I was looking from her perspective. Then I told my sister, my wife, a different generation. They're all viewers actually. How they view this film. Antalin was so big hit because of one thing, which the greatest thing I have done. I never thought that it would be so effective, was understanding the story from the viewer's perspective. Okay, how the viewer will like. For example, let me tell you, those who have seen Antarlin, the last scene when Mamta Shankar went away and the car went
Right.
away to that big horizon,
Correct.
that thought was added much later on when Vogish founder Aninder, who played the role of Mamta Shankar's son, um, I had a very good foot. The last scene was originally that Mamata Shankar is walking away the corridor of that hospital. That was the last scene, actually, originally. And then when I found this wonderful landscape drone shot, I found, a lot of people told me, why don't you add it at the end? People told me, okay, and say, why? How can I do that? Then I say, okay, why don't Aninda do a narrative at the backdrop? That will be more effective. Okay. So this input came from outside. It is not from my side. So if you don't take others' input, like other people's input, you are a failure. Because cinema is something that will be watched by the others, not by you. And that's the problem with the Bengali film industry. They think that they themselves will watch it. Okay. No, the audience will watch it. Audience is different. Nowadays is a totally different audience. They are much used to Netflix and Amazon. You have to give that level of quality. Okay. So don't. So that is a very important question and interesting question he said about the viewer's perspective is very important. A director cannot be a viewer because he is always biased that I made a good film. Okay,
Yeah.
আমারটাই সবচেয়ে ভালো.
Bhalo.
হ্যাঁ, but you have to show it to the viewer. Is it really good? Okay, so that's important. Thanks for the good question.
No, thanks to you as well. So, explaining this question so nicely. So, another quick thing I would just like to understand mostly about, about your upcoming film Antur Dhan. So,
Antodhan. Yeah.
yes. So,
It's no
I
more
think
Antodhan, now it's Antodhan.
Dhan, yes. So, I mean, we are really very interested to know about because I think just due to this COVID situation, it couldn't get released. But if you could just at least give some level of information to the audience, because we are really very interested to know about that movie. And
Yeah.
and along with that, probably another question I would just like to merge with it. So far, we have seen Arindam Bhattacharya as a uh, thriller movie maker. So you have got your own genre. So is it something going forward we'd also like to see you coming out with all thriller movies, or you do have some different plans also, like just to go for a different sort of movies out of your own style?
Yeah. I
I
really
mean,
want.
actually, I have marched two questions together.
Sorry, Nilay, what was the first one? I forgot.
The first one is like if you can just give us some information about
Oh, yeah,
your
yeah.
new movie on Turdhan.
Okay, okay, okay. So yeah, definitely, I will answer your second question first because
Okay.
that is easy to tell. So it's not about you or anybody else. Even my daughter used to ask me every day, "What is the next movie it is all about?" Okay,
Mm.
it's about again a crime thriller. So she used to ask me because I'm going for shoot for the next, in December. So, so that's a very, you know, appropriate question that why I'm making thrillers again and again. The problem, I should not say it's a problem, but the problem is with me definitely because whenever I start writing for any story, it goes towards a thriller. Okay. Even Antardhan started with a normal story and then ultimately it moved out to, it came out to be a thriller. So I
Okay.
don't know what happened. It's my psychological problem. So because I like this particular genre a lot, and this time for the first time, hopefully, I'm trying to make a non-thriller in December, which for which I'm getting ready for shoot. So that would be a non-thriller, and thank God the script has been made already, so I can confirm you that. Okay, it is no more a thriller.
Okay.
Okay,
No, I
and
mean,
I
we are
won't
really
make
happy with the thrillers. I mean, it's not like that, but I mean, it's more about a question. I mean, Do you have any other plans? So,
Yeah, I have some good plans that I don't want to reveal right now. Some good plans, a different kind of a movie. I just wanted to make even an animation, even for the childrens. I wanted to make,
okay.
and the most unfortunate thing is the producer. The producers always say, "Boss, your last film was a thriller and it was a hit, so you keep on making thriller." So that is not a, again, going back to square one. So I don't want that, because if you don't explore a new genre, how a new product will come up. So we have to try out that, and definitely sure, my for the next ones in the next coming years, I'll try to make some a different one, like a children film, or some animation film. Will try. Animation film is a bit costly, because the assessment we did a few days back, it was almost a double the cost of a normal film. So that some kind of feasibility should be there. So we are exploring that. And secondly, for Antodhan, I'd like to say Antodhan is a thriller, out and out thriller, and it's a little bit different from the others in the sense that it is a very fast-paced thriller. Okay, in the sense, it is about a missing girl, a girl who used to stay with her parents in Himachal. Again, going back to Himachal, I went back to Himachal again, and I took up a lot of towns. I shot in Shimla, in Chail, in Shogi, in Kasoli again, a little bit of it. So we shot in different parts of the Himachal, and it is about a missing girl who got missing suddenly one day, and an investigator was there, on a vacation, and he started investigating on it. But how the thing changed, and what was the psychological effect on the parents, and if a son or a daughter goes missing, that is the part of the film. And what happens at the end, definitely it's a twist. But overall, there were a lot of stars in this film. Like we had Parambrata as the lead, Tanusri in this film as as his wife. We had Rajatabo as the investigator. Rajatabo is doing the role of an investigator for the first time, and he just outperformed everybody. And what a level of acting! What a level! Man,
Absolutely.
after the shooting, I told Ronida that you were like Robert De Niro. Okay.
Even I personally a fan of Rajutavo. I mean, that is something I can say.
So, so the character was so different in this film, like a detective who is not in his own sense always. Sometimes he is drowsy, sometimes he's not talking properly. He wake up in the night, sleeps in the morning. Something very odd about him. Okay. And he played it wonderfully. But you will keep on looking at this man. How did he do? Okay. So he was so happy performing. Obviously, we never have the scope of doing this kind of work in the industry, he says. So definitely Mamta Shankar is there. We have one person from Bollywood, Harsh Chaya. He is also part of this. We have Neil Mukherjee. So we have a lot of casting over there. So the film is finished. Let's see, after lockdown, we will see the film. Yeah.
Yeah, that is, we'll definitely, I mean, rather, we are eagerly waiting for that release of Anturdhan. Even,
Thank you.
I, uh, I think we are very close to the top of the hour. So hopefully, I just like to, you know, close our discussion with probably my last question. Uh, Again, if not director on Arindam Bhattacharya, what else you wants to, I mean, you want it to be, rather, I mean, or maybe you might have some other qualities which are not aware to the normal audience. I mean, being a normal people, we might not aware of it. So if you want to share that details with us. We know Arindam Bhattacharya as a director. We know Arindam Bhattacharya was a corporate personality as a CA. But what else that we are not aware of and that you want to reveal with the audience?
Okay. I can't remember any such thing. If I am not a director, then definitely I would love to be a tour guide. So maybe you'll be laughing at this. The tour guide, why a tour guide? So I traveled a lot of countries in the world due to my profession, and I always love to travel in a different. Whenever I am in office, after outside the country, after Friday afternoon, I'm vanished. Okay, so nobody could find me because I used to travel a lot. Even in one day, I remember, I traveled by walking. I used to cross every, go across the cities or towns or small towns. I love them. The culture, going out. I understand a lot of things, and it was always a fun for me. And later on, one fine morning, I also thought of this idea. If I don't do a film, it was during the lockdown, and if I don't do a film any further, so what will I do? The same question you asked me. Then I say, okay, I
Yeah.
can be a good tour guide, the world, across the world, because I know almost all the cities, all the countries very well. I'd love to be a tour guide because the traveling will come and be as a part and parcel of that. So maybe people will say, how, it doesn't make sense to be a tour guide, but to me, it is a big deal, definitely, because traveling is the next thing, which is my passion, and definitely I want my films to be made in those locations because of the location. Okay, the location is very important for me. Okay, so that is one thing. I also do some kind of, I have some kind of a startup with team in
Hmm.
charge. Okay.
Hmm.
So, so my passion was, I am an avid tea drinker. So I did this startup just to make sure that all the Bengalis across the globe, and recently I started exporting to Australia and Europe, the good Darjeeling tea. Obviously,
Oh,
one of the things that a Bengali really like. Okay, so I'm really fond of that, and I started an enterprise on that. So it's a new startup for me. That is something new I started. If film doesn't fall in place, and then maybe I'll be a tour guide as well as a tea entrepreneur. Nobody knows. So, multiple things. My only policy in life is do whatever you like. That's all. Okay.
great, great, great. I mean, this is really refreshing for all of us. I mean,
Yeah.
live with your passion.
Absolutely. Lead with your passion. Otherwise, COVID is there to take you up. So just go ahead.
Yes, yes. So I think we are really very pleased to have you, Arindam. I think it was a great time with you today. I think all the viewers, everyone, I mean, they would have thoroughly enjoyed this uh, fourth show of Vogish. So I would just like to maybe take 2 more minutes of yours with the last note. What would be your tips for all the new aspirants? Maybe a one line or two liner.
For new aspirants, I'd like to say one thing. Please work on your own ideas, original ideas. See good films only from Hollywood, Bollywood, or from our Tollywood also, but good films. Study them. That's the most important. Make good notes of it. Make good story. Just learn how to tell the story. That's all. The rest will be taken care of. That's all. That's my takeaway.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So, with that note, probably we are just, uh, taking say bye to you and to the audience as well. And once again, thank you very much to
Thank you.
Arindam Bhattacharya from the whole Vogesh production family. Thank you very much. So, this is what we have the sessions with Arindam Bhattacharya. So, we are just going to have few such upcoming events in future. In maybe by next month, we'll be having one more curtain raiser for one of our new theater. So that information will be getting soon. So please keep your eyes on Vogish side, and we will be giving you all the updates of all our upcoming things. So with that note, thank you viewers, and have a great and safe days ahead. Bye.